Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the prime time version of the Wednesday Sports Exchange. You wonder why I use prime time? Stick around over the next several minutes, 45 to 60 minutes, and you'll realize that those words have a lot of big significance to it. So with that said, we have a 4 spot tonight, myself, and to my right, JB Ellis. Welcome back, Mr. Ellis.
What's going on, guys? How's everybody?
We're all right. Ready to have some fun, Mr. Ellis?
Always.
You know it, man. George Eichhorn, long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
2 or 3 minutes, Scott. Good to be back.
Record.
And the other half of it is Jacob Christner, the other half of the long time no see, GMTA and all that business. Right, Jacob?
The pundit's pundit, which my opponent this week is right above me right now in fantasy football. We're trying to figure how much of a threat he's going to be if there's no Travis Kelce.
Well, you know what?
That's a big issue for me right now.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. All right. I don't know if that's sarcasm, joking, depending on the tone of voice you use, JB, but that's okay.
Well, that can be excitement with him.
Oh, is it? Then we're on a roll with Ellis. So before I go any deeper, I just want everybody to know the Sports Exchange being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers, over the 900 mark, I should add. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room. That's one way to do it. Or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter, @TribuneSouth. Or X, whatever. It's the same thing in my eyes. I'm too old to think otherwise. I still use whiteout. So there you go. And also Candy Ebling's behind the scenes. And we want to thank everybody for joining us. We got a great show. And we'll go ahead and acknowledge the highs first. We'll start with the first high from Penman Sports. Glad you can be on. And the second one we have here on the high end is Keegan Eckert. All right. Good way to start this show tonight. There you go. So we like having our regulars on here. Good stuff. That's what makes it all fun, is be able to make sure that people appreciate the work we do behind the scenes and on camera as well. All right, stacked show. And when you look at the title, did Prime live up to the hype? Well, that's a good. Now you understand why I told you to hang around. Deionsanders, first act, 45-42 win over TCU. Now let's go ahead and point out this Saturday scenario. The cost of everyone last season was $222. For this Saturday's opener, fans will pay $476 versus a former Big 12, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And I'll give you my prediction before I turn it over to you guys, that the Cornhuskers will get bulldozed in Boulder. It never used to be that way, but it will happen this way. I guarantee that the Cornhuskers will lose in double figures and then some. I'll turn over to my right, JB Ellis.
Listen, what Deion did with this team hasn't been done in college football before. He rebuilt it in 1 year, and that's why everybody was worried going into the first game against TCU. It was the team that was in the national championship game. TCU should be disgusted with their performance. They should not have lost that game, being at home first week of the season after coming out off a national championship game. It's a disgrace, but all the credit to Deion for putting together that team, getting them to buy in. His son, who happens to be the quarterback, that had to be a phenomenal experience for him to get that first win at that level, and seeing his son, who's now a Heisman candidate after that great game. And then he has the other guy playing both ways. Nobody in Division I plays both ways. And not only did he play both ways, he had a phenomenal game on the offensive and defensive side. The defense has got to be a little bit better, but TCU, Big 12, great offense. Can't really fault them for that. But they're going to go to Nebraska. Nebraska's got a much better defense, but I still don't see this being a close game. The talent level doesn't compare right now, Boulder compared to Nebraska.
Yeah, and I should point out Penman Sports, I think he did beating TCU was a huge statement out of the gate. Oh, depends on truer words can be spoken there. No doubt about that. All right, we'll flip it over to George.
Well, I know that Sanders has done a great job already in the short time he's been there. There's no question about it. I agree with you, JB. I think Michigan tasted that terrible loss that they had in the national semifinals last December. And then, of course, we know that TCU laid a big egg in losing to Georgia for the championship. So now they got a couple of bad games in a row, TCU. But I'm not taking anything away from Deion Sanders. I mean, he had those guys ready to play. They did a hell of a job against a top team, a top 20 team in TCU. And it's just remarkable what he's been able to achieve over there in such a short period of time. I'm with you guys. I am not impressed. Nebraska's really had a bad go of it the last few years in the Big Ten, many years now. God, I got to think back to Tom Osborne when he was coach, for crying out loud, as to when they were such a powerhouse. And, then when the Big Ten let Nebraska in. All this to say that, yeah, Sanders is going to win. And I agree with you guys. It's going to be a double-digit victory. No question about it this coming weekend.
Well, I know one thing. Mattrhule is going to have his hands full.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he'll do a really good job over there. And the thing that we have to understand is after watching this game, there's no way Deion Sanders is going to the NFL. No way. He loves coaching kids, and he don't want to coach men. He has more control over them anyways. And I think that these kids will look up to him. There's no way he'll ever go to the NFL. I'm convinced he'll stay at college. But I don't think he's going to Florida State anytime soon, like Dental Stripes alluded, because Mike Norvell's doing a really good job. So Deion will be in Boulder for a while. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah. I didn't care what the whole TCU thing was going to be. I didn't have a prediction, but I didn't care. Regardless of what that was going to be, that was an amazing win, but they were going to absolutely curb stomp Nebraska. I said that then, I say it now. And this just makes it even more. I didn't know, but it's like Mattrhule is not of that level of what Deion was. Deion was tremendous in Jackson State. We brought that part up. He's a great coach, tremendous coach. He's a great motivator. He knows the game. And to get the idea of Travis Hunter doing what he did shows what kind of coach he is. And I had 9 wins. You ever heard me? Y'all heard me here in Pundit. You heard me. I said 9 wins begin this. And I believe it's going to happen. But as far as Nebraska goes, the Big Ten, as we know it, is dead when they bring with UCLA, USC's, all of them right there. It's like they're going to have to catch up with the offense. Can't do just defenses anymore. I mean, you had Minnesota and Nebraska 13-10. They ain't gonna survive anymore, because you're gonna see this coming Saturday what's going to happen when you normally, and Iowa will be the last man standing because they've got a top-notch defense. They will be the last team standing on this, but they will fall too. And then it is like Kirkferentz will be gone, and then they will have to go get an offensive-minded coach, because the USC what Deion is going to do this Saturday is he's going to show what's going to happen with a lot of these traditional schools pretty soon.
All right, George, you're responsible for the chat room tonight. I'm going to put them up, and you're going to read them.
All right. Well, nice to hear from you too, Pensman Sports. Here, still recovering like I am from Michigan's game against TCU. LOL.
All right, we'll move on to the next one, George.
The story is great with Colorado, but they did have a game in 100-degree heat. I think they are being overhyped. The defense didn't look great after moving Hunter to receiver.
Okay. Last one.
I don't know about that. And Keegan says the defense will have to step it up if Hunter will play receiver more.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it all plays out.
Yep.
All right. Next topic should hit closer to home for a couple of people anyways on the panel. Can the Cubs overtake the Milwaukee Brewers? Okay, JB.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Scott.
Sure. Can the Cubs overtake the Milwaukee Brewers?
Oh, I think so. I mean, they're on fire right now. They got it down to 1.5. Had they not blown the 2 games over the weekend and the 9th inning to Cincinnati, they'd be in first place by a half a game right now. They're firing on all cylinders. Milwaukee, who went and had their hot streak 2 weeks ago where they won, what was it, Jacob, 9 in a row?
Yep.
They've cooled
and they
off.
gained a half a game.
Yeah, they gained a half a game, winning 9 in a row. The Cubs, it's their year. Sometimes things just click and they go together. This is just happens to be their year with everything that's going on. They've made the right choices with who they brought in. When they brought Bellinger in, They're bringing rookies up to pitch, and they're pitching lights out. Everything's clicking. Suzuki's on fire. I think that they win the division. That last weekend's going to be something to see.
Yeah, codybellinger, no doubt. I saw that in play earlier. What a heck of a pickup for Chicago. But I'll turn it over to George and I'll conclude I'll have my say in this. Go ahead, George.
I'm still going with Milwaukee. I know it's been a really great Cubs team this year, but there's something about Milwaukee I really like. They got a great lineup, and I really think that they have a better pitching staff than the Cubs do. That being said, of course, the Cubs are on fire. I mean, and no question about it. They've done a great job. And I think that this is great for baseball, though. Come on, guys. I mean, whether you're a fan of Brewtown or Chicago, these cities are so close to each other. Fans can get on the train or get in the car or take a plane, I guess, if you want to, or a bus too. But I love it that those cities are so close to each other, and they're going to be battling till the very end, in all likelihood, in September. So it's great for baseball. It's great for that division, but I still give the edge to the Brew Crew.
Okay, you know what? Before we turn over to Jacob, George, you got to stay caught up. We're on a roll with the chat room.
Sure, 38-35, Nebraska beats Colorado.
All right, well.
Wow.
Nebraska won't score 38 in a month.
To Penman credit, he's not afraid to go out on a limb, whether we agree with him or not. That's why they play the games.
That limb is also rotten, and he's going to fall from it.
All right, well, we'll see. I'm not touching.
Cubs won tonight. Brewers lost also.
Ahead,
oh, boy.
It only adds to the intrigue. Okay, go ahead.
And a lady named Candy. I think I know her. Depends on who's hot at the end. It might come down to the last series, as you said, JB, between Milwaukee and the Cubs.
Let's hope so.
Well, that's how these things play out. All right. So who's next? I forgot.
This guy next to me.
Me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kidding with you.
This is our confidential for the night since we don't have a confidential. This
exactly.
Is
That's why I incorporated this topic.
Yeah, that's like one of the.
Yeah, once JB told me you weren't doing a confidential, we'll do confidential too here. Tonight.
Yeah. The biggest thing is I do now that we're seeing this, I do have a belief the Cubs can do it. It's like once they hit the playoffs, and this is the thing with this. It's like all the credit to Davidross for learning some things throughout this year because he's made some mistakes too. My worry during the playoffs is that game like he had with the 2-1 loss against the Reds, which you can't have hardly any of those in the playoffs. And it's like there are some of those. In some of those losses, he's still having those brain farts. And the biggest thing is those kind of brain farts, you got to remember, Brian Snitker doesn't make those. He also had 20 years in the minors. He also had a certain time in the minors. Which, see, the thing is, if Davidross does find his way to the World Series, that'll end the Brian Snitker stories of going to the thing, coming to the major leagues after a big time in the minors. They're just going to hire people and be done with it. But it's like Davidross is learning, and the team is starting to gel. And they are playing hot, and they're playing confident. Remember when I talked about that, JB, in one of our shows? Yes. I don't know how wonderful they are as far as, they are playing together. They're playing very confident. Those are the big things. I think what makes them a really good team, like especially with the next year, is the specific things that need to be said or need to be brought in. But playing confident, they wouldn't need it. I'm glad that there's no trade deadline because it doesn't. They're having a confidence, the greatness right now, and they're going for it. And you don't want to burn that. So I'm glad they're keeping with what they are. We'll just see what happens.
All right. Well, here's what you have. Craig Counsell still the manager, okay, of the Milwaukee Brewers. And if he isn't the most underrated manager in baseball, find me somebody that is, okay, because this guy's unbelievable. He works what he's done in that small market, and I repeat, small market, with small market money, he still makes it work. Now,
Counsell's a great mind.
Yeah, he is. Now, you forgot to think alike this time, but okay, whatever. But that one got past him. All right, so let's talk about 20-game winner watch, okay? And this relates to the Cubs and all the contenders, at least in the National League. Justin Steele, 16 wins, right? There's a guy that we haven't mentioned yet, but we will now, okay? Spencerstrider of the Braves, 16, and Taijuanwalker of the Phillies, 15. So if there's a guy that stands a chance to go out there and help the Cubs take the Brewers, Justin Steele will definitely be the arm that you need in that Cubs rotation to finish the job with just a matter of a few weeks left to go. Anyways, any thoughts about on any of that? JB, we'll start it off with you.
So, Steele has been unbelievable this year, and even though he's been unbelievable, Stroman fell off, which, and Hendricks has been But, I like the fact that they had the rookie come up today, close out the game. His first time pitching in the major leagues, got 1, 2, 3 in the ninth, struck out the first guy he faced. They have the other rookie who's starting. They have some good young pitchers. If they're confident and they don't, go over their heads and start getting nervous because it's a pennant race, I think their pitching's just as good as Milwaukee. I think that they have a really good chance. And they have veteran leadership between Bellinger, and Hendricks and, other guys that we can mention. This team has the right chemistry to make something happen. It's not taking anything you get away from Counsell or Milwaukee. They're a good team, but the Cubs just, they remind me of the mid-90s Yankees. They may not win it this year, but watch out next year.
Well, let me tell you this, just because you win a division doesn't mean you're going to win it all. All you need to do is go right down I-95 south of Miami where the Marlins play, okay? They got in as a wild card twice, okay, and won it all. So winning a division isn't necessarily the way to go. It's certainly a way that you want to do. All right, George, Jacob, anything else you want to add to it before we go on?
Well, obviously, Steele has done a great job, like you said, JB. 16-3, 2.55 ERA. Strider for Atlanta, 16 wins, 4 losses, and then I think you mentioned Walker from Philadelphia has got 15 wins. It's kind of sad, but even the 20-game winner thing is dying out in baseball right now because of so many pitching change and so much selective maneuvering by the managers and bringing in relief pitchers. We're seeing a decline in even a guy getting 20 wins. So all that being said, these are good, strong, young arms. Cubs have some good ones there, and so does Atlanta. I still wish Detroit would have played the Cubs back in 1984. I'm not trying to recreate history, but that would have been such
but that's what you're doing.
That would have been such a sweet series, Scott, instead of San Diego.
Yeah, I know. That would have been a ratings monster.
That would have been great. Even Kurt Gowdy would have been jumping out of his shorts.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right, George.
I know.
Right now, I classify you as delusional because it never happened. So let's stick with the past. Okay?
But it would have been awesome. It would have been awesome.
I don't know if we even had internet back in 1984. ESPN was only 5 years old, so whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, we were talking about pitching.
But the thing about Steele is Steele, and I'll say this, JB, Steele's the reason why I was saying I can be ready to let Kyle Hendricks go. Because remember, my guy is Kyle Hendricks, the placement guy who can set it through, who can set up the pitcher, who can set up the hitters with a couple of pitches, get an early out. Steele's doing that now, and he's doing it more dominantly. He's doing it, and it's like he's doing it more dominantly, and I'm like, the biggest thing, I would love Hendricks to be able to come back to his thing, but problem with him is he is letting so many stolen bases happen. He's about a step and a half off, and he's throwing more pitches to set up the hitter. So it gets him in trouble. He's still an effective pitcher, and he's still got, I'll give it to you, George. If I don't think anybody's going to complain on Detroit if you got Kyle Hendricks. I'm just saying on Detroit's thing because he had 6-7 innings right off the bat.
Right.
Which I was going to say. But I'm ready for that thing because it's like Detroit's in a different booth than the Cubs are. They're trying to build, and the Cubs might be now. So I could be ready. I could be ready to be able to say goodbye, to be able to do that. Because of the Steele, go get some other. I'll say goodbye to Hendricks and definitely Stroman. Get a couple others because they've got some things going. They're definitely Smiley. Unless you put him in the bullpen.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to add to this whole thing, number one, I'm riding JB Ellis on this. Okay, the Cubs will be much better next year, and the Tigers will, because then they're going to not deal with miguelcabrera's salary, and that's going to segue into something really quickly, which is the reason why there's a method to my madness. But I have to take a little small detour before I get to Miggy.
You have plenty of madness without method.
You guys, if anybody knows it more than you three, I'd like to know who, because you guys definitely know it. Even if Humpty Dumpty, you never know what's going to happen to this version of it.
Yeah, really.
But at any rate, we thought we'd be talking about Humpty Dumpty in the Sports Exchange. Well, don't worry. If you want to know the Humpty Dumpty story, SouthFloridaTribune@gmail.com will work, and I'll give you the scoop on that. Okay, that's one of my many nicknames. So, all right, with that said, we're talking about recent milestones. We're going to touch on two of them, and then you'll understand in a moment why I'm only talking two. I saw this guy hit bombs in Miami, man. We're not talking the Star Spangled Banner. We're talking bombs at Marlins Park. Giancarlo Stanton, 400 home runs. J.B. Ellis, when this guy hits him, he hits him deep. Oh, and I got that deep thing, by the way, from a guy by the name of Andy Lascano, who used to be a sportscaster here in Miami. And his favorite call on the air was, where did he hit it? Deep. There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's why when I mentioned Giancarlo Stanton, we hit it deep. Oh, there you go. You know where? I'll patent those eventually down the road if I can afford it. But Giancarlo Stanton, he doesn't get cheated out of his swing, does he, J.B. Ellis?
No, I mean, tremendous power hitter. The issue is injuries and, getting older. Can you imagine if he was healthy, he'd probably be close to 450, 500 home runs right now. But 400 home runs is some, feat.
Still like the third quickest of all time.
Yeah, I mean, he's a phenomenal power. And like you said, when he hits it, he just destroys the baseball. He's just got to work on not striking out so much. I mean, that's been his major flaw this year. That's like throughout baseball, though. It's not just him.
Hey, JB, if this guy hit home runs in those other ballpark bandboxes years ago, this guy would be at 550 right now. Do you realize
without
that?
a doubt. He'd
be at 550.
Power hitter.
Yeah, Rick Curdy used to call him Glass, and he probably is Glass to some extent. But I'll tell you what, from what I've read about those other ballparks, I like to study ballparks.
Glass.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
Jacob,
But
you got your eyes
Rick
closed?
Curdy lives on. But yeah, no, this guy, if you would have hit him in those old parts, we'd be talking 500, not 400. So.
Oh, come
right?
on.
All right, no, come on, Icor. Give me your opinion on
I'll give you an opinion. Miguel Cabrera should have 600.
I don't want to hear about Cabrera right now.
Okay.
I said I don't want to hear about Cabrera, or I will pull you and get rid of you right now. We will talk about him momentarily.
Stanton. Okay, good job, Stanton. You did a nice job. 400.
There you go.
But your Yankees are not winning.
No,
all this to
say,
500. I got a good 1-2 punch, don't they, with Stanton and Judge?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You got power pack home runs,
right.
And I give him credit, though, like you guys said. I mean, he should have a lot more than that right now, and so should that other guy whose name I'm not going to mention right now.
Right, yeah. He learned. He's a quick study here. Okay.
Yeah. Jacob, what do you got to say about this?
Oh, but I don't have I never have a thing to say ever. But no, the issue goes that's like he's done even with the injuries. He's the third quickest to 400 ever. Here's the deal with this. We talked about the lack of 20-game winners coming. We're also going to see these hitters blow by someone like Giancarlo Stanton. Like they're going to blow by these 400 home run, but will they beat the all-time record by Bonds or any of that kind of stuff? That's not guaranteed, and I'll tell you why. Injuries. Right. No one plays 162 straight anymore. So they'll take a day off. They'll take all this stuff, and then they might take a season off. They might have a knee problem. They might have when you had so many of these high-end numbers back in the day and they weren't that athletic, they just played all the time as availability. Now you're getting the numbers that are blowing everything by, but healthy in 162, Giancarlo is probably 600 to be very honest.
Okay, fair enough.
And same with Miggy. Just saying that about Miggy. He would be too.
Yeah, we'll go to one more individual before we hit the Miggy Kool-Aid, okay? Because I know everybody's chomping a bit to talk about Miggy. No, we're not talking about Miguel Rojas of the LA Dodgers. We're talking about another Miggy, although Miguel Rojas is playing for the Dodgers here in Miami. Don't know that score yet, but if Penguin wants to get that one and post it, you can do that. Jose Altuve, 2,000 hits. Tell you what, this kid's unbelievable, isn't he, J.B. Ellis?
Listen, how many of the hits were aided by knowing what was coming? That's all I'm going to say. No respect for him.
Okay, good enough. Okay, you'll just save your voice on the next one. All right, George.
Altuve, yeah, I've always liked him. He's been a great ball player. And the fact the other day he had home runs, not only in the first, not only in the second, but the third inning. He came up 3 straight times and hit dingers all 3 times. He's not exactly known for all that power, but he is a good ball player. I've always admired him. They were in town recently, and I know that other guy we're going to talk about had a fun time with kidding around with Altuve when they were on the bases together. So I know you got your feelings on him, JB, but I still think he's a hell of a ball player. And congratulations on those 2,000 hit.
And by the way, Marlins 11, Dodgers 4. It looks like the Marlins won their 6th straight in a row. They're coming on at the right time. All right, go ahead, Jacob.
Well, see, we know this about Altuve. He stands on a base and then he has to get off quicker. He commits suicide. And it's like, I mean, he's so short. We already know this part. But it's like, but the biggest thing with him is, yeah, we know how many that had him coming. How many they have coming. It's the biggest issue is you still have to hit the ball. And it's the eye on the ball. And it's like any of us can be told what one is coming. It's like, this is what an athlete is. We're still going to be 0 for 10, most of us, unless we have that kind of practice. He's still one ridiculously good hitter. It's just like, regardless of, I mean, you're correct, JB. He knew. There were things that he had and he knew, but you still have to hit it. And I still think back to Jeremy Giambi in the steroid era, taking the same steroids that Mark McGwire did, and he was so bad they had to send him to the minors. So you still have to come through. That's all.
There's no question. There's no question he's a phenomenal player, but unfortunately, when we have guys like Barry Bonds, Pete Rose that are in the Hall of Fame, who are some of the best players ever, and they don't get recognized, I'm not going to sit here and recognize a guy who cheated for God only knows how long. So,
Well, he's still. This is the thing. You're correct on that, but this is the thing. He's still coming through even when the Dusty around, and Dusty and technology doesn't go together. So it's like he's still coming through. He's still good. It's like if he was hitting the Javi Baez numbers in Detroit, then there would be a point. But he's still hitting.
Yeah, but you could say the same thing with Barry Bonds. There was 2 different careers. There was his Pittsburgh career and his career in San Francisco, where he was a totally different shape. And he was still the best player in baseball, in both cities. So
yeah,
what?
You're good.
You know what, JB? You bring up a great point. I am so glad you brought that up. Number one, I could care less about Jose Altuve. He'll get in the Astros Hall of Fame. Who knows if he'll be recognized objectively by the baseball writers. Remember, they don't let nobody in if you're 74.9%. You either make the 75 or you don't get in. Remember, they don't round it up, okay? And this group here, if they sense any kind of cheating activity, you're not getting in. So you might as well stick to your club, because I just don't see it. And I personally, if you're a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, I like the Barry Bonds that we saw in Pittsburgh because he was a great all-around player. He reminded me a lot of his dad, Bobby Bonds, who could do both, run and hit for power. Mm-hmm. And that's now when we talk about the San Francisco version, of course, I understand Giants fans will definitely cheer for him. You might as well. He's yours, And Balco wasn't too far down the road where you went out there and denied every allegation on the planet. So, but yeah, I have mixed emotions about Altuve. At least he's got one ring that you can say wasn't tarnished because of last year's accomplishment. The one before, well, I still think it's an asterisk, but Rob Manfred doesn't. So
here's trivia. Here's some trivia real fast. Think about an all-around player. 10 straight years, hit home run, stole bases, did not get caught stealing. Who am I talking about?
You brought up.
Did not get caught stealing.
Huh?
Did not get caught stealing. Did not get caught
stealing 10 straight years, also hit home runs.
All right, we got us on that. What is it?
Greg Maddux.
Oh.
10 straight years of all of that.
Wow.
And he would steal bases too, and he never got caught 10 straight years.
That's
Yeah,
right.
well, you know what? Nobody's going to come up with that one because it was a pitcher, but all right.
But
I'll
no,
give
Greg Maddux is just an athlete. He never looked it.
Hey, listen, hey, Greg Maddux deserves every honor. That was the one name I never thought about. So
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of pitcher.
Hey, JB, let's face reality, buddy. He got us on that one. Let's just
without a doubt.
quit because we got. Yeah, he got us. Okay, Jacob got that. Of course, he remembers a hammering he took on the first end, so he had to find a way to stick it to us, and he did.
Yeah.
So smile,
That's not
pal,
hard.
Now
Smile, pal.
there you go. All right, so there you go. So meanwhile, now everybody can hold your breath there. Now we do talk about Miguel Cabrera, 3,158 hits at last count. I don't know if that's changed tonight, but we'll leave it at 3,158 because we live in the moment. Okay. Next target's Adrianbeltre, 3,166, and the guy that used to play all the games, calripkenjr Jr. All right, JB. Let's forget Beltre. Okay, let's just talk about whether you feel Miguel Cabrera could go ahead and surpass Calripken Jr.
No.
You don't think so? 20?
No.
5
Not
is
at
out of
all.
reach. Okay.
Yeah.
So Beltre is only 8 away. That one's realistic, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I would think so.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, George.
Yeah, he would have to really go on a tear. I don't think he's going to catch Ripken, but he has passed a lot of big names this year, including guys like George Brett, and it's been a lot of fun. The Tigers have been keeping track of his home runs and his hit total out in the outfield. They changed the numbers. They have a couple of employees stationed out there at the home games to change the numbers. He was not in the lineup tonight. AJ gave him a rest, so I suppose he's playing tomorrow against the Yankees. But yeah, he's really had a really good second half. I'm really happy with him. I was hoping that it would be this way and not the other way. So as far as hitting goes, he's had a very good second half. So that's taken a lot of pressure off of leaving him in the lineup. But he still can't play every day, obviously. But I don't think he'll catch Ripken, though, Scott.
Yeah, Beltre, yes, Ripken. No. All right, go ahead, Jacob.
He ain't catching Ripken. It's because he might have gone on a little bit of a tear. He can't play every day. And Beltre is more toward the end just because he can't play. But, the end of September, he'll catch him. But when you think, and I say this for right now, and I think of this, and I'm going to do a comparison. Old school UFC to that stuff. When you see the fighters that you've known that were legends that started at like 20 years old. Then you see them at the end when they're like 43. And it's like you go from you're on top of the world. You know what I'm talking about, George. You're on top of the world, you're the ultimate athlete, you have everything, to a puncher's chance. You're still the athlete, you still can swing, but you're more beat up than ever. That's what's happening with every time we see a Miggy up there. And it's sad because we remember the 20-year-old Miggy that hit that home run in the World Series.
Yeah.
We remember that, and it's like you want to step back in time one more time. You want to think of Babe Ruth when he hit the 3 home runs, then retired. You want to think that. You want to think of those just one more time, the puncher's chance. But age hits hard. Age hits hard. It hit on Muhammad Ali. We bring that up, Scott. It hit on Muhammad Ali. It hits on our legends. It hit Larry Bird, my hero. Right. And even I got a 49-14-12 out of him as one of his final games, one of his final good games. But again, puncher's chance. And that's the toughest part to see when your heroes start to go. That it becomes a puncher's chance because it has to be. Because any more years after, they have no more. They don't have the punchers anymore.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about it, Ripken, I don't see it. Beltre, I definitely do. But you know who the biggest winners this year were, as far as I'm concerned, about the whole Cabrera? How about the Miami Marlins? You think about it, okay? This is a series that was really built. And you know why the Miami Marlins fans were the winners here? They got to see a healthy Miguel Cabrera celebrate that World Series. And the way the dominoes dropped with the way the scheduling was with the Marlins and the Yankees, 20 years after, when that anniversary of that World Championship. And, of course, Cabrera. And we're talking about a crowd that Saturday over 33,000, decent crowd for the weekend. Marlins fans take out like bandits no matter how it plays out. But yeah, as far as Beltre, realistic, I'd love to see it happen with Ripken Jr. I don't think he's got enough games. The only way it could do that is if he could put together a few multiple hit games. You never know, though. I would say never. Do I think it's unrealistic? Probably. All right, we'll stay in Motown. Detroit Lions general manager Brad Holmes, 44 years old, by the way, believes his team can win the NFC North for the first time this season. The Lions were 13-1 in 2021 in his first year as GM. Last year, the team started at 1-6, finished 9-8. The last Lions division crown was in 1993 when they were in the NFC Central Division at 10-6. Okay, JB, what do you think? Can the Lions go out there? Do you believe in Brad Holmes? Do you think he's going to pull it off in that division?
That's tough. I'm still with Minnesota, but I like the Lions. I mean, I love what they've done. I just think one more year before they get it done. I think the way the progression works, next year is their year, and the Bears are coming right with them, right behind. I think this year Minnesota still has enough pieces to hold them off. Don't take much off tomorrow's game. You're starting against the best team in football against Kansas City. I don't foresee the Lions winning. I think it'll be a close game, but I wouldn't put that as everyone's stock, because you're going to hear Friday morning, the Lions aren't going to do anything. They lost already. They're 0-1. I wouldn't say that. I think they're going to make the wild card this year. I think they're a really good team, but I think they're a year off from winning the division.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one guy who, from what I hear, if my sources are correct, I think they're trying to go out there and negotiate a contract extension for Jared Goff. So with that said, I'll turn over to George Eichhorn. Is that true? And what are your thoughts about are you drinking the Holmes Kool-Aid that they could win the division?
Well, I tell you what, I agree with one of the local guys here that covers the team day in and day out, and he says they are a year ahead of schedule. And I would agree with that. So I know what you're saying, JB, but no, they might not be looking up at Minnesota this year in the division race. I'm picking the Lions to win that division. Holmes has done a really good job, no question about it. The big question is, like you said, Scott, are they going to negotiate a new contract with Goff now? Are they going to wait a little bit longer? Do they want to give him all that money? I mean, all these quarterbacks are running to the bank. They're running to the bank, Wells Fargo, whatever bank they want to run to, and they're getting these huge contracts. So Detroit's got a big decision to make. I think this year is going to be obviously the key, because he had a great year last year, so year before that. So this is going to be the key. This year, how does he perform? It depends on how he performs. But no, I don't think they can wait past past the end of this coming season, at least to get a new deal ironed out with him. I would imagine they'll probably try to work something out rather quickly, like they did with Raymond, that one wide receiver and return man, Khalif Raymond. But to answer your question, yeah, Holmes has done a terrific job. Of course, Campbell's been the right man for the job as head coach as well.
Okay, Jacob.
I think Detroit has a chance. I think they can win it. And the thing is, part of the reason I say this is because I don't like Luke Getsy as an OC at all, especially with the guy. You've already got a guy like Justin Fields, who is very dynamic, very athletic, who also, will not throw the ball if no one's 5 yards open, excuse me. If they're not 5 yards open, he will not. If there isn't a tight window, he does not avoid. I mean, and that is the thing. It's like, and in the NFL, there was a thing that Bruce Arians told Peyton Manning, this is open. And he won't, and it's like wonderful arm, pretty accurate on that end, but he is afraid to do. He has the least of all rookies. I think he has like the least amount of passes between 2 years of any of them. And it's like because he is the first thing he does is take off. So I think that's the tough part. But Detroit, I was saying 3 to 4 wins first year, 7 to 8 second, and division the third. And the thing was, I didn't see the 9. So they're ahead. They are ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about the thing is, no, go ahead.
Okay, no. The thing about Detroit is Detroit and Chicago, I believe, are going to be the new. They're going to be the new back and forth. This is the new world. I think they are. And Chicago's in an interesting situation in the fact that I was thinking if Fields fails, you go after a Drake May or something. They may not have to. If you get yourself a new OC and there's no Fields anymore, Tyson Bagent, he is on a very low rookie contract, and he looked phenomenal, and you can develop. They may not have to do that. So they have for their year, so I'm not sure what they'll do. But as far as Detroit right now, I think Detroit and Chicago are coming. I think Minnesota's on their last chance, and I think Jordan Love is garbage. And I think Green Bay's last.
Okay. Well, all I'll say about this is from when I heard the Lions, they're looking at 10-7. I do believe that 10-7 could be the record to win that division. And I have no reason to doubt Brad Holmes so far, and I'm not going to do it now. So if he feels like they could win it, it would be great to see it. But 10-7 is what it's going to take to get that division. Two more topics I want to address, okay? And that's it for the night. I don't know if we're going to do parting shots unless you guys really want to. But college. So tell me, JB, give me the college football game that you're looking forward to this weekend.
This weekend, right now, probably it's tough at the beginning of the season. There's so many bad games where teams just pay these weaker schools to come in. Right now, Alabama, Texas has got to be the best game of the weekend, looking at the schedule.
Okay. Fair enough. George?
Well, obviously, Michigan I'm looking forward to because I don't have Peacock, and I couldn't watch Michigan last Saturday. So I'm looking forward to seeing a game on the television against UNLV. I know it's going to be a blowout. So from just a practical standpoint, like I said, I missed Michigan's game last Saturday, which wasn't much of anything really, and they beat East Carolina. But that's going to be my game to watch. And then if I could do one more, Scott, I'm going to say Notre Dame at NC State. Every time Notre Dame goes on the road, it seems like they have a challenge ahead of themselves. But it being ranked 10th now, I know NC State is not that great a team, but it's always going to be a challenge for the Fighting Irish when they go on the road. They just seem to have a tougher time of it, but that would be my second choice. Thanks.
All right. Well, then, if I got to do that too, I got to go back to JB Ellis and give him his second choice. All right, go ahead. I got to be fair to everybody, not just you.
Well, the second choice is always going to be, we'll see what Deion does with this team. He's electric. He's what college football loves. It's more publicity. There's so many games. Last Saturday, literally from noon until about 2 a.m, there were games. And, because there was no NFL, there were games Friday from 6 o'clock at night till about 2 a.m. The last game was Hawaii versus Stanford.
And there was a Sunday night game, JB, and a Monday night game too.
So it was phenomenal.
College.
But now that we're just getting into pretty much Saturdays for the major games, and then you'll have a couple of weekday games with some of the other conferences. Deion's huge because he's going to bring more eyes to college football. So got to look forward to see what Colorado does this week. That would be my second choice.
Okay, we'll turn it over to you, Jacob.
I think the scheduling things with football is the number one reason for divorce. Is number 2 is money. But still, but the biggest thing is my number 1 is obviously Colorado, Nebraska. That game obviously. But number 2 is just because of my old school thing of the Midwest and the old school defense, Iowa and Iowa State. Is because I'll tell you why, and it's not because Iowa was going to be this national champion or anything. They had that chance about 2-3 years ago when they were so good. Then they have a game at home on ESPN at night, get absolutely shellacked. And it's like when they had a chance and they were 8-0, and then they end up like 10-4, 10-2 or something. But I'm like, that's what's going to happen with an Iowa. But I love seeing old school defense. Iowa has Alabama level defense, and Alabama level defense and Nebraska level offense even worse. And it's like, so we know it's the last of everything. The Ferentzes will be gone, and we won't see the Iowa that we saw anymore because everybody's changing up their stadiums. Won't see it. It's kind of the last of a breed. So I kind of want to see it while it's still here.
Well, that's fair enough. Well, for me, it's a no-brainer. Miami against Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And by way, Candy and I will be at that game. I mean, first time 10 the SEC opponents visited these parts, and I have a feeling the Hurricanes are going to win this game. I'm looking at my second game options. How about one that you're going to see a lot more of in the coming years? How about the Wisconsin Badgers? Although actually they're playing at Washington State. If they were playing Washington, it'd be better. So I'll backtrack on that. So I'll go to another one instead, although it would be pretty interesting that they are playing in Washington School. How about Grambling against LSU?
Oh,
That's
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, I expect that Brian Kelly, if he decides to make a guarantee on this game, he won't be eating crow this time. But, I've always been a firm believer that if a HBCU can make a lot of money, let alone in their home state, and LSU is a good guarantee game. So my second will be Grambling against LSU, which is ranked 14th. But I'm going with Miami and Texas A&M. I expect my Canes to come out victorious in this.
That was the point I made on. Just wanted to say this on Pundit. All of these games were made during the Deion era. I hope we keep seeing them. That's my point. We saw these made during
I believe you're gonna. Yeah, I don't. Well, you're going to see these guaranteed games. Let me tell you.
Not guaranteed. I'm talking about the HBCUs with this type of level. I didn't see these a lot.
Yeah, well, all right. Let me finish my point. I do believe that. I'm with you. I was on that show with you too. Remember? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nobody's running away from these HBCUs. Are you kidding? Why would they? I mean,
no. It's just the knowledge. That's all. It's just the knowledge of
the
them.
bottom line is I like Grambling against LSU. This is a big game for the state of Louisiana.
Yeah.
Forget about HBCU. Didn't Eddie Robinson, I believe, coach over at Grambling State, right?
Yeah.
That was 51 years, I believe.
Well, big deal. So what? He's still dead. I mean, Doug Williams is there too. This is a good Louisiana matchup. I don't know how, or is it a mismatch? But somebody's going to be making a little bit of coin over this thing. So it doesn't matter. But I'm going again. Texas A&M, Miami. Miami wins, and of course, I'm just glad to see Grambling play LSU. All right, but it's good. It'll be interesting to see where everybody is around the country. Let's go ahead and let's go to the chat room with Anthony Bianchi. All right, George.
Anthony, thank you, sir. If Kelly brings the Louisiana accent, it's a lock.
All right, there you go. Yeah, well, one of the few locks I have on
you
here.
too, Jacob.
There you go. All right, well, hey, you know what? He brings his accent. He's got a lot of work to do with it, but they don't care about his accent. They're only in LSU. Bear in mind, the last three coaches that they've employed won a national championship. Brian Kelly doesn't want to be the one that breaks that incredible streak. So, what was it? Nick Saban, Ed Orgeron, and I'm trying to remember the other one.
Kelly's never going to have Orgeron's popularity. I'll tell you that right now.
No, that's true. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, but nevertheless, one more topic I want to get to, and then these guys will determine parting shots. But this is one that I think we should definitely end with. Last week, we talked about Nebraska women's volleyball, a new world record for the largest crowd at a women's sporting event. That number came in at 92,003. We were enthusiastic when we talked about it. Now we have a final number, JB.
That's just amazing, and it's phenomenal. It's great to see events like that. But the more it happens, the more it'll be done, and it just builds on top of it. And I give a lot of credit to Nebraska for getting that done, and I don't think they ever expected it to be as well received as it was.
And by the way, now that my came back to me, the coaches that won at LSU were Nick Saban, Les Miles, and Ed Orgeron. Just want to make sure we brought that up. So that's what Kelly's up against. All right. Yeah, no. All right. So there's no question that it was good to see that number come in at 92,000. And this is just an update to something that if you watched last week's edition of the Sports Exchange, now you have an update. All right, George?
Yeah, it was a phenomenal event. There's no question about it. I'm glad we talked about it last week. Just did a great job there at the University of Nebraska. It's a real feather in the cap of the women's sports movement as well, and just a terrific response. All that excitement was generated for a volleyball game. It was incredible. So I'm happy for the university and happy for all the fans who were part of that record, Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah, Memorial Stadium, Nebraska. That's a bucket list item. I would love to see a game in Nebraska with the Cornhuskers. And many years ago, I saw the Wolverines in a Nebraska Cornhuskers played the Alamo Bowl years ago at the Alamo Dome. It was pretty interesting. They were not in the Big Ten at that time, but we all see what's happened that when you bring a school from the Big 12 or anywhere to the Big Ten, they get humbled really quick, and it's as easy as it looks. All right, go ahead, Jacob.
This is the point that I've made through. I've been with Sideline Sports 3 years. This is the point I've made. JB's heard me say this. It's like we want to make women's equal as far as pay, as far as the notoriety, everything. Do this stuff.
All right.
Prove it. They did. There's not going to get anywhere with Megan Rapinoe mouthing off, sniping off, and doing all that stuff. It's just going to make people mad. Doing something like this, you want to know something? People now know that they can make a huge crowd at some of these soccer games. They can make a huge crowd. This is where the money is going to be. They're going to be given chances now. Proof is in the pudding. Keep the mouth shut. Just show that you did it, and they did. They did. And now there's going to be chances. That's all that needed to be. You don't have to act like a beep, 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 beep.
What was that again?
No, yeah, well, if we say that, we'll get kicked off the stream. But no, but no, you don't have to act like all of that to get there. And I mean, and I don't care what people will say. Oh, you let the man say it. I don't care. Shut up. This is the point. You want to get somewhere. Proof is in the pudding. 2003 is in the pudding. And now there's going to be sponsors. There's going to be everything. It makes money. It's going to. So, and all of these the soccer games, the volleyball games shows up. More money's coming. More sponsorships are coming. And it's like this is where it comes from. Not going to the media all the time and whining.
Oh, here, you know what? I don't know if Anthony was watching the pundit, but boy,
incredible volleyball game, right, Anthony? Let's hope Saudi Arabia doesn't open the checkbook.
Maybe he was watching earlier, but boy, that's a great.
No, Saudi Arabia is not going to open the checkbook for women. They still won't.
Oh no,
I don't know. You know what? I will say this, and I'm glad that we're reporting on this 2 weeks in a row because they got 92,000 in it. But the one thing that you guys have to understand is this, okay? Now we've seen Nebraska women's volleyball hit 92,000. But do you think that as time goes on, that these football stadiums are going to be more than just football stadiums, right? What about these soccer games over in England that come over here? I think, Manchester United hit Ann Arbor, right?
Yeah.
What about these ice hockey games that are drawing some massive crowds? You don't need to play football. You can bring in these other things that are money makers. So you schedule 1 or 2 out games or games a year at a university, especially the big house or wherever. You're going to get some huge crowds. We talk about guarantee games. To me, when it comes to smaller programs trying to build their athletic department around them, there might be another source of revenue out there that we haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg, using those football stadiums for events like whether it's women's, men's hockey, or whatever. So if I were you guys and everybody out there that's watching, okay, on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network and its affiliates, okay, think about what I just said tonight, and that's this. There could be a lot more interesting creative events that will be massive money makers. There's women's volleyball and men's hockey. Stay tuned. This is something we're not done talking about. All right. I'll leave it open to you guys. Okay. And that's this. Any parting shots? Although before you answer my question, okay, we'll go back to the chat room. Scott nailed it. Where else can you pull 100K? That's true. Where can you? And even with a smaller stadium, let's just say you have a 50,000 seat football stadium, you probably get 60, 70,000 all day long. Because remember, for these other sports, you could put, stands or temporary bleachers somewhere else, you get it up to 60, 70,000. That's a lot of money, a lot of coin. So thanks for bringing that up, Anthony. Much appreciated. Anybody want to go ahead and have parting shots? We're doing really well on time.
Yeah, I got one.
Go ahead.
Tomorrow, the NFL season starts. Some people like to place bets legally, illegally, however you do it. I don't care. A lot of us play fantasy football. Come Monday morning, if a guy gets hurt, fumbles, throws an interception, don't say something stupid on social media. Don't threaten somebody's family. They're people. If you lose, you lose. Who cares? It's a game. Don't go after athletes personally. You're the one that made the choice to play that team, to draft that person. Get over yourself and stop blaming athletes when they don't perform. You want to boo? Go ahead. That's fine. Everybody has the right to do that. Don't attack athletes personally if they don't perform because they're on your team or because you put a bet in. Because then you're just an idiot. And if you're an idiot, don't watch sports. We don't want you.
That's a great one. I like that one, JB. Good stuff. Fantasy. I don't play it myself. I mean, and the reason why I don't play it, I'm so used to reality football. It's called sit in press box, go to locker room, and go to press conference, and then I go out there and get my grill in front of somebody. You never know what happens. So go ahead.
Like, see, if you want to criticize the GM, you got to play fantasy football. So you can say, I tried to build this team, and I'm the best at it, and then you can see you're really just average, and how hard of a job it is because they have so much more to do with salary caps and everything else.
But you know how hard
They wouldn't even be average.
But you know how hard it is for me to want to do that because, in my opinion, I don't care. I only report objectively, and down the road, I am looking forward to the debut, whenever that may be, maybe before Social Security, maybe 2024, that we have what do we have? The celebrity and the journalist. Okay, we haven't forgot about that down the road. So big things, 2024. Okay, but nah, I'll leave you fantasy football. I don't need to criticize. All I like to do is ask coaches questions. And I had an eventful weekend last weekend with Mario Cristobal, who, when I asked him a post-game question about a player committing a 15-yard penalty, he wasn't mad at me. I'm not, and I'll never forget this. I got to tell you guys out there subscribing to our YouTube channel, and I'll turn over to you guys after that. These are great stories, though. Okay, number one. Okay, with Mario Cristobal, this guy's I love working with this guy. He is. He don't worry about clicks. Okay, Mario Cristobal is not the kind of guy who worry about clicks. So if you're looking for a click, don't interview him. But he tells you straight. But I'll never forget. I'm asking about a player that committed a 15-yard personal foul penalty that took from the 4 to the 19-yard line. I asked him, I know you coach hard, okay, but you don't like these kind of penalties? No, and he went off. Like, he really blew it here. But then he says to me, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. Okay. I mean, because at this point, he's coaching. Okay. We're good, man. It's okay. I'm glad we went out there and then as he went out there, I'm not mad at you, and Cristobal's a class act. So what do you think happens? 24 hours later, I'm over at FAU press conference, right? And who the coach is? Tom Herman. Okay. And I like Tommy. After all, I made a good first impression at his first press conference when I saw him and told him that he's coaching in a basketball school, kidding with him that they went to the Final Four. I didn't know we were a basketball school. But he's got a great sense of humor. Come on, these coaches do have a sense of humor. So what do you think happens? I did ask him 2 questions. You know what happens with the first one? He knows this is my hat. At least I know one thing about Tom Herman. He can read. Motor City Madman. Oh, you from that area? Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, now we're having a little bit of fun here. Everybody in the press conference room is laughing, right? Okay, you with me? So I asked him a couple of questions. It was the most enjoyable 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes we had because you got 2 coaches that are actually great coaches in Southern Florida that have an opportunity to take Miami, and Florida Atlantic, 2 teams that, by the way, did make it to the Final Four, and take them to another level in college football. And yet they're so different, but they're excellent coaches. So I wanted to have an opportunity on this platform to mention those stories. That Cristobal's just great. I mean, you know what? And, there's a lot of mutual respect that we've had up to this point in Herman, and I'm just glad they're in my backyard. So that's what I have to say. I don't know if it's a parting shot, but that's what I have to say. But, yeah, fantasy, that was a good one. All right, George, go ahead.
Well, no, you're talking about outdoor games, and the NHL, they nailed it. When they did the January 1st game, the Stadium Series, it's a moneymaker for Gary Bettman and company. They're playing in Seattle for the first time. The Vegas Golden Knights, defending Stanley Cup champions, will be at Seattle on New Year's Day on TNT. So, yeah, these kind of big events really put the NHL on the map. In fact, the Stadium Series this year is going to be back-to-back games at the Meadowlands, I understand, involving the Rangers and the Islanders and a couple other teams. I just love it. I love it. I love hockey outside. There's something about it being in a big stadium like that. I'm glad you brought that up, Scott, about those big crowds. Detroit, of course, and Ann Arbor hosted the all-time greatest. which was over 100,000 at U of M Stadium when the Toronto Maple Leafs beat the Red Wings several years ago. So yeah, the outdoor ice, it just makes for a great event and a great time had by all. So that's my parting shot.
Well, you can go ahead and take the Nebraska women's volleyball for setting me off on this one. That's
Yep, they sure
all
can.
right, go ahead, Jacob.
Fans, I want you to understand something here. You need to learn basic math, as in 2 + 2, and I'll explain. I get people all of a sudden are going after James Harden. They're going after James Harden now, and they're calling him, he's nasty, he's lazy, he's all this. I was doing this a decade ago. The last 3 years in sideline, and then before that, I was doing it when he was hitting 60-point games like nothing. It's like the biggest thing about it. I did this with Justin Fields. He's on this thing, but I did this with Justin Fields when you were all wanting to place the blame. I do this with quite a few things. I'm going to be right about Jordan Love. I'm going to be right about Anthony Richardson. Here's the thing, though. You all can do this, too. It's not a huge skill. The only skill that you need is looking beyond the weeds for 1 second. Look beyond the weeds, put 2 and 2 together and understand what can happen. It's like, yeah, you're going to be mad when I'm going to say something and I become right. Then I'm going to become right later. And then you're going to forget I said it. And you're going, oh, you never said that. No, you do it all the time. The fans do it all the time. But you all could do it too. It's like if you all did it more often, maybe these front offices would make smarter moves instead of trying to appease you. Period. There wouldn't be the Bears wouldn't have to play 1 minute of Justin Fields in his rookie year or Mitchell Trubisky. But you all throw your fit and you want it all now. And this continues to happen with the Bears. And here's the thing: the last good decision made a Super Bowl was George Halas, not Virginia. Not Virginia, and that's the thing. She got Lovey, and they made a Super Bowl, but they have never been consistent since George's last decision. But Ditka wasn't going to listen to you. Halas wasn't going to listen to you. I hope Poles doesn't. It's time to understand. If you fans truly want to think you know what you're talking about, forget fantasy. Go find a small minor league team, the lowest of the low, and run one. I guarantee if you did that enough to see how bad it is, you'll see how tough it is, then you'll shut up.
Great parting shots all the way around. So I'll go over our information and turn it over to you guys. Okay, just so everybody knows, the Sports Exchange being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers, already surpassed 900. We're getting there. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room. That's one way to do it. Or please send your topic ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Want to advertise cost efficiently? Call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And yes, I call Twitter, okay, to me, X, whatever you want to call it. Also, our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter, @Tribune South, X, whatever you want to call it. Candy Ambling's behind the scenes today. She was in the chat room. Earlier, she was on the show. And you know what? She's the most valuable player when it puts everything in perspective anyway. So I have a lot of professional and personal reasons why, but she's does a remarkable job. Anytime you have somebody like her that can do run the business in so many different ways. And that's what we need here are people that are dedicated to help not only our platform grow, but make sure that we have the long-term interests of sideline sports in our hands. And we're determined as heck to make sure not only the Tribune taken care of, but we are determined, as you can imagine, make sure sideline sports is taken with the care that we're going to continue to bring on. And I'm just so glad that JB spends his Wednesday nights with us. Good stuff. So, all right, with that said, JB Ellis, go ahead, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
JB_ the program on Twitter. Sideline Sports every Tuesday at 8:30. Cub Financial usually Wednesdays at 8 now. And the new the J&J Sports Express at 7 on Wednesdays, which is the football betting show.
Very good. Like that idea. Certainly demand for what you're doing there. Okay, George, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the book of mine, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. There's a link to purchase the book at the end of my column. I write for Scott's South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune banner, along with Jeremy and Scott and other great writers. I know Jacob's been in there too, and we really like the setup of the website and obviously the whole network. You can find me on 108 Stitches and on Inside the Pigskin, the Sports Exchange, Pundits Pundit. Enjoy all the shows with all you guys. Oh, to reach me, gicorn@yahoo.com or on LinkedIn, George Einkorn. You can also find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, and that is, I can't forget it, Sand G, S-A-N-D, Sand G Sports 99. Thank you.
All right, last, Jacob.
I'm going to do a little different on this one, not just these things. Jake the Pundit on formerly Twitter. I'm not going to do the whole Prince thing with the formerly. It's we've got that right there. I'm Jake the Pundit one on TikTok, where I just hit my 1,002nd follower, and we keep on going. We're gonna keep on building it. I just started a Ko-Fi. I just kept up on Ko-Fi page, so I'm building on that. I'm going to be building that page. I'm going on Patreon. I'm going on Substack. I'm already signed up on those. I'm on Substack and building that, and on Ricochet. It's a smaller version. I'm continuing to build that, plus all the stuff on Sideline and on South Florida Tribune.
Well done. And I know that we're, as a partnership, collectively going to be adding more and more things, not only by the end of the year, but I think 2024, there's going to be other things coming through the pipeline. One thing I want to add before we close the show, Candy Abling is working right now on making sure that Sideline Sports website is up. What she's doing right now is she's carefully constructing it to make sure that we're able to provide the necessary media distribution partners that coincides with the theme of what we're doing. And we're assembling a group of writers that will be able to contribute on not one, but two platforms as well. So those are things that we're working on as well, in addition to what we're doing. So with that said, on behalf of Joe, George, and Jacob, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Man Mouth, thanking you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange, and we will catch you next Wednesday night. Good night, everybody.
Great show.